Hey, Jess.
Hey, how's it going?
No, really good. Thanks. Really good. Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. I, yeah, I'd just to kind of kick things off, it would be great just if you could just share with us a little bit about kind of, who you are. And before we get into what you do as a profession, maybe just some background as to your relationship with the ocean and what drew you to it.
Yep. So I've always been naturally interested in the ocean and what lies beneath since I was little. But I do have a camera background, and it was that spark that I got when I took a camera down for the first time and showed people, and that connection that they had with the images and how special that was what really drew me into wanting to capture good images underwater to inspire people to want to protect it, but then also enjoy it as well. Because when you're so passionate about someone, but people can't see that unless they're out there doing it themselves, which at the time a lot of people around me weren't, that's kind of what sparked that want to show people.
Okay, brilliant. And
Represent.
And what do you, just fill us in? I mean, what exactly is it that you do as a profession currently?
So I'm a camera operator, been a camera operator for about 12 years. I'm working in more news and I guess feature kind of pieces. I started out in news and then I moved on to it's the Today Show in Australia. So I do more kind of the stories that go into that program. So I do a lot of land based kind of color pieces and things like that and travel pieces. Try and get in the water as much as I can with that job. But yeah, predominantly land based. So this course is kind of my stepping stone into the underwater world because that's where I want to be eventually. As much as I love the land based filming, every time I get out on a boat or the shoreline and I'm underwater, I'm like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I love it.
Hmm. Yeah, fantastic. No, well, I mean, certainly I could pick that up right from the beginning. Is that there was clearly a single-mindedness to your approach, and you were very clear. You were very decisive about wanting to improve and develop your own capacities and skills, and that was clear from the moment I spoke to you, which and that's been absolutely consistent right through.
Yeah, great.
So in terms of the program, coming into the program, what what were your sort of expectations and hopes, and or put it this way, what were the things you were kind of struggling with? What were the things that you felt you needed help with?
There was a lot. The first initial kind of thought was direction.
Mm,
It's even though I'm in the camera world, the world that, you're in is completely different to
mm,
anything that I really understood. So it was sort of having direction with my career progress and how I can get to, a level that you're at,
mm,
and how to do that in the best way. And then that's transformed into, okay, I've got a clear path, but now how can I better myself as an underwater cinematographer to get me to where I need to be? And every module, there's been takeouts from each thing that you put out that I've been able to apply in my world that I can already see is having a massive impact.
mm. Oh, that's great. No, I mean, it's great to get the feedback. And you shared with us some sort of recent assignments that you worked on. Yeah, can you maybe just share some of those with us, and perhaps just you know flesh out how some of the teachings helped you in those situations? Maybe the humpback whale. I mean, that was a pretty gnarly shoot from my perspective.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of the shoots that I've been on recently, it's been very quick, 2 days or one day, two dives if I'm lucky in the water. And that's kind of any conditions. So having kind of like a plan in my head and how to, especially when you're jumping in the water with humpbacks and you've got people that haven't experienced that before, they get excited and they're yelling at you like underneath, here, there, everywhere, and just
Mm,
trying to keep that clear mind, be like, no, I need to get a sequence here. I need to hold my shots. I need to give, usable shots that the editor's going to be able to cut. to a longer form piece. And I think, just knowing what I need in those moments really helped. Because, sometimes it can be pretty hectic, especially if you're just kind of, the whale's coming and you're getting thrown in the water and, you just not the best visibility. You've got different things that you're thinking about, like shots that you need to make sure you cover. And, it's a lot going on, but it was a huge help. And I don't think I would have got probably any usable stuff if I hadn't done this course, because a lot of the moments were really fleeting. And I reckon I would have done a lot of, not holding.
Yeah, I mean, I think also what you're talking to there, it's interesting. It's coming through from a number of people as well, is, just realizing that the gap between you and me is actually not that great, right? Like I've been doing this for a long time, but I make mistakes. I get overwhelmed. I, shoot the wrong things. I look at my rushes after a sequence and I go, oh my gosh, I could have done this. I could have done that. And I think that's such an important thing for people to realize, is that, it's often, everyone at every single level struggles. And just because you're experiencing that doesn't mean that you don't have the potential to actually deliver an incredible set of rushes.
Yeah.
You just need an approach that gives you that kind of clarity in that moment of chaos.
Yeah, 100%. Looking at the rushes as well has been hugely impactful. Like the shoot I did recently, like you said, I was like, oh no, why did I do that? But my mindset has changed looking at the rushes, but I can tell that I'm thinking more like, I didn't get enough, like cutaway shots. I didn't get enough, rather than, prior to this, I would have just been thinking more like, I didn't get the single shot. But now, there's so many more things that I want to get, and things that are important in cinematography underwater and trying to create sequences and things like that.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty. That's what I love so much about wildlife cinematography specifically, compared to, features or documentaries where you have full control. In this context, you've got absolutely zero control. So your window of opportunity is so slim, and that pressure is intense. But when you do get it right and you deliver, it's just so deeply rewarding.
Yeah. It can be challenging because the animals or, the conditions or anything of what you're dealing with, opposed to land, which I'm familiar with, but it's so much more rewarding when you get it right, because it's not easy to get all the time. And then when you see people connecting with it, then that's the best.
And what are your thoughts in terms of going forward? I mean, are you finding that, are you thinking of, moving to doing this more and more, or is it something that you can blend with your existing career? Because, I mean, we discussed this in, the ocean leverage component, is that, you don't have to necessarily be a full-time cinematographer to actually deliver incredible rushes and have an incredible experience and create value. You can run a kind of a hybrid business model, which also gives you financial stability, because you're not just dependent on one revenue stream.
Yeah, like I definitely could, but I think where I want to go and the kind of work that I want to do eventually would be all in. At the moment, I'm doing a lot of, like shows and things like that, which are quite quick, and you don't have a lot of time to get the right shots, and it's kind of just shoot as you go. But I really want to do more natural history, spend the 28 days out on the water, like work on those sequences, like really hone into it. So right now I'm in like a good position where I do have my job and the creative, like I'm working behind a camera. So I'm like, applying land-based cinematography skills every day. But yeah, the underwater world is sort of what I want to I want that to be my full-time job. But I know it's a slow, like I can't do that overnight. So every day I'm just trying to apply different things and learn different things and, meet people.
Yeah, I think that's such a good approach. I mean, I think, networks are critical, meeting the right people, and it can literally be a meeting with one person that fundamentally alters the entire trajectory of your career. And certainly in our industry, it's all about relationships and networking. But but you're in a fantastic space to, as you say, develop those skill sets in a working environment, because that's key as well. It's one thing to have the program and to have the support and the frameworks, but you've fundamentally got to be applying those in high pressure situations to actually learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, high pressure, and like that's when, things like this course, I think that's where it's most valuable, because you just know it. You know what you're thinking, you know what you need to apply. And actually, I was on the boat a couple of days ago, and you were talking about once you've got the shot, move on. And I was like thinking about that, but it was completely like I was with a close group of people that I work with all the time. But anyway, a whale approached the boat and it was really cool. We got the shots and then kind of lingering around, but we only had 2 dives that day. And then the captain was like, "Oh, have you got enough?" I was like, "We've got enough, move on." And then the producer's like, "Oh, like, you don't like whales?" I was like, "Oh no, that's not what I mean. I mean, just we've got to focus here. We got to get out to the..."
I had a great chat with Ollie Scully, the producer.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was one of his key things that he really emphasized is you've got to move on. You've just got to know when to move on. It's just such a critical thing. And I think that's also what I've realized is, it's a few critical principles and notions, like, for example, the bipolar coverage technique. Just knowing that immediately, if you just execute on that, and you execute on, your composition, the step change in your output is radical. It's not like, you only improve to slow incremental, incremental leaps. You can actually make a fundamental leap in your performance just by embracing one or two, critical concepts. And often that's all you have, right? Because the situation is so fleeting.
Yeah. And it's like small changes that make a huge difference. Like before I started this course, my setup was a 16 to 35 mil, and that's all I've ever known. And, your shots are similar to, what a GoPro could get. You kind of lack that range and that creativity. But since then moving to 24 to 70, it's like a whole new world has opened up to me, and I can get these shots and think differently underwater. It's not kind of just seeing something, and shooting it. It's kind of, applying composition and figuring out ways to be different and be more cinematic and get those different shots and angles and close-ups, wides.
Yeah, and it's exciting. It's exciting when you start to understand, the intention behind a particular shot and how that can affect the viewer's emotions. And so you start to really get more into visual authorship rather than just snatching at behavior and just trying to capture it.
Yeah, I find like today, like right before this, I was out just snorkeling in my local bay, and I was looking because we've got so many really cool marine animals, but rather than just enjoying them and looking at them, I was in my head creating little stories for each of these animals and how I could apply that in a mini little ocean sequence. And I was like, oh, there's actually a lot I can do here. And having that kind of way of thinking, I was like, I've got stuff in my backyard. I don't need to go out and try and get the big things and like the big wow factors, because all these other little things all kind of are quite unique. And yeah, I think there's a lot I can work with.
I mean, 100%. And I would argue that if I reflect on a lot of the big series that I've worked on, it's actually those small little character sequences that are the ones that resonate way more with people than, a lot of what we would call the bigger wow ones, like the charismatic animals like dolphins and things like that. It's those small little creatures that people haven't necessarily seen before that exhibit a kind of a quirkiness or a tenacity that people can really relate to. And you definitely don't have to travel to exotic locations to tell incredible stories. I mean, look at Mark's Teacher. That was filmed in my backyard. So yeah, it's a very good point.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely something I'm going to work on like pretty soon is just capturing little, I don't know, characters in my bay and just focus on all those different camera techniques, because you learn the best by getting out there and just applying it and then watching your rushes, figuring it out. which would
And
be
Jess,
cool.
you mentioned earlier when we were just setting up the call, you mentioned about, just your really just the change in, I guess, in mindset or confidence. Can you just
Yeah,
unpack that a little in terms of,
yeah.
the transformation before you did the course and after?
So before I did the course, like it wasn't the setup I have now, but I had the ability to shoot things underwater. Um, but I would never tell anybody that. Like if a story came up for work, I'd be like, oh yeah, I can dive and do it, but I've never call myself an underwater cinematographer or underwater camera operator. But since doing this course, I've, gained confidence in myself and my ability and what I can do. And that confidence alone I think I've had 6 shoots all across different states in my country and different shows and things like that, because the word gets out and you deliver. And there were definitely some where I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for this, but I'm just going to do this. And then the producer's happy and then word gets out. But that was all built just through confidence and believing in myself to be able to do it and deliver on that. And then once you kind of have that and you feel it, I feel like you can deliver it and the opportunities come your way.
Yeah, no, I'm super, super, super pleased that that was the outcome. And yeah, it's been wonderful having you on the program. And of course, it's ongoing, right? The community that we're developing is really powerful. And yeah, from my side as well, I've been deeply inspired by, the commitment of people. And this is something that I'm seeing is, you know, and we discussed this, is like you have to have that kind of maniacal focus. If you really want to make a change in any aspect of your life, you have to really want it and you have to apply yourself. And you certainly have done that. And yeah, it's been wonderful, having you on the program. And I'm also super excited to, see where you go and track all of that. So yeah, thanks again for the faith that you showed in me at the beginning. It was, you joined the first cohort, and yeah, very excited to see where it all goes.
Yeah, thank you. It's been honestly amazing. And my path for where I want to be in the future has never been clearer, where it probably would have otherwise been. So thanks for that.
Okay. No, it's a pleasure, Jess. Fantastic. Well, yeah, I really appreciate you chatting with me. And yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks in the last 2 sessions of the sprint.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks, Roger.
Okay. Okay, Jess. Thanks so much. Cheers. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.